Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings came out, what feels like years ago now. It was last summer in the year of our Lord 2021. And as you know, I picked up the Xialing, Katie, and Shang-Chi figures. There's Shang-Chi for reference, but I've very slowly been collecting the rest of that wave over time. The next one to join me is the Death Dealer. The sort of right-hand... well, the right-hand man of Wenwu, only in the sense that they've been around for most of Wenwu's recent tenure as of the film's events. And Razor Fist can't be Wenwu's right-hand man because he doesn't have a right hand. Oh, sick burn. Anyway, Death Dealer comes with a nice little bit of patterning at the top, the dragon scale of the Great Protector from the end of the movie film. You've got the Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings logo down there. You've got Death Dealer on the side, lovely painting, which you can see a slightly better version of here. With his little description saying Death Dealer is one of the most formidable opponents Shang-Chi's ever faced. It's a gorgeous picture, actually. Rest of the figures in the wave, in this annoying CGI style, instead of actual pictures of the figures. We have Shang-Chi, who we've already got, Wenwu, who we're after, Xialing, who we've already got, Death Dealer, who we now have, the Contest of the Champions video game Civil Warrior, who is on his way, and Tony Stark AI, which is also on his way, all part of the Build-A-Figure for Mr. Hyde, who looks like a chunky beef boy. Because of Shang, we've already got one of his legs, and because of Xialing, we've got his torso, which is huge. Hopefully he will be as comparable to the recent Armadillo release as far as being the chunkiest of boys. But until then, let's have a little look at this absolute assassin, because he is, the Death Dealer. Before we start on the Death Dealer, look at Hyde's hairy hand. That is a really gross hairy hand. Nice big chunky arm. So once again, Hyde is going to be a big boy. So we'll take a look at him later. Accessories for the Death Dealer, funnily enough, are also hands. Cheers, Shang. You lie down. We've got this one here, which has a throwing dagger in it. And we have this one here, which is similar to the Clint Barton Ronin figure from the Endgame wave. Has sort of sculpted blades being propelled. Very cool for action. First indication of a major problem with this figure. The Death Dealer uses lots of small knives in their attacks. That is not removable. They are not removable. These are not removable. The Death Dealer figure comes with no weapon accessories, just action stance with weapons. That's kind of shit. Do you know what's kind of shit? Dude's articulation. Oh, it's a real shame. So, the legs, as you can see, we have the standard articulation of the Butte. Tilt inside to side. Nothing in the lower leg. The knee has a double joint. There's a swivel at the top of the thigh, and the leg goes out and forwards as best as it can. Not too hampered by the robe because of the slits up the side, but not much movement. His waist does swivel, but it's very minimal, again, because of the sculpt of the robe. He does not have an ab or rib crunch of any kind. If he did, it would be impeded by the fact that this is a rubber piece that is then sealed by the belt. There's no peg there. It is sealed, glue, mold, whatever. He has a usual kind of shoulder joint, up and down, back and forth. He has an upper arm joint, double elbow joint, which actually has a decent bend, as you can see. It's not impeded too much by the sculpt of the armour. Wrist goes in and out and round, just like the spare hands do. And considering his big old pony, his head isn't too restricted and is on a lovely big peg joint, but obviously be careful with the ponytail, lest you snap it off or strain it by bending the head too far back or too far forward. Articulation-wise, though he's very bog-standard Marvel Legend, he's quite restricted, and all because of his costume, but down to the point where they seem to have made some decisions to not articulate parts of him because they knew the Kazi would get in the way. I think I'd prefer his costume to just be sculpted like Shang's, so that you still have the option of him, ab crunching and everything. But instead they've gone for the rubber piece over the top. I'd be intrigued if any custom figure makers have unwrapped him from his costume so you can sort of see what the situation is in regards to the pieces underneath. Are they just plain pieces? Because they seem to be tailored. I mean, look at that silver armor and tunic underneath. Like, that is, like the legs, the costume, like the thighs. Surely they must be reused from something else, maybe. But I don't know. Details wise, very, very pretty. The insignia on his boots is really, really cool. I do like the cross patterning on the tunic. The paint on the non-usable daggers at the back are really, really nice, as they are on the ribbons. They really, really pop. The orange there, like the sculpt of that, is nice. There's not so much paint bleed. Not too much paint bleed, sorry, on the orange of the robe. The buckle is a really great sculpt. The hands are a nice pose too. Like, you rarely see sort of natural and action hands, sort of like neutral hands for both, because you could have them like in the middle of a move or curled over in a run. But they also sit quite naturally. They look like very natural hands, just to have dangling. The gauntlets are really nice. And again, the head, the sculpt of the ponytail and the hood is very, very cool, and the colours on the mask. One issue with mine is a paint issue. If you look very closely, you will see he's got a lazy eye, which I honestly don't mind too bad, because at least it is still like a full pupil, and an absolutely badass ninja villain isn't any less badass for having a lazy eye. But it's just a very odd occurrence on this that the paint has just missed where it's meant to go. But honestly, I don't mind. Should we take a little look at him in action for final thoughts, though? Thing is with this figure, for all of its faults in terms of its articulation and odd choices to make sure that the costume is completely priority over its adaptability as an action figure, it does just look aesthetically very pleasing. I can't fault it as a display piece, because that's where he's going to be. He's going to live up here with other Shang-Chi figures. So I can't knock him for that. He's a good looking display figure. What do you think of the Death Dealer? Do you think it looks as formidable as it did in the film? Is it a pass from you? Are you excited to see me eventually, at some point, get my mitts on the last Shang-Chi figure, Wenwu, to review Wenwu? Let me know down in the comments below. If you want to help fund future reviews, you can help us out with the links down below, either by PayPal for a donation or going to my Amazon wishlist and picking up a toy for me. You don't have to do that. You're under no obligation, of course. You can support me in other ways, like liking this video and subscribing if you haven't already. I'll see you again soon for another action figure review.